Hello friends, welcome to this session on workplace communication. Globalization has brought in changes in organizational and stakeholders' expectations. And in order to communicate these expectations, these changes in a holistic manner, it is imperative that professionals be made aware of correct uses of phrases, words, and expressions in their professional communication. Communication is critical. It is critical in building and sustaining business and relationships. Critical to initiate transparent discussions with stakeholders and shareholders. Critical to record what transpires and to document the outcome. This program has been designed to introduce the participants to the dynamics of corporate communication and sensitize them to the efficacy of the verbal as well as the written word. It aims to empower participants to establish and communicate their credibility and personal and professional effectiveness through demonstration of confidence and logical thought progression in business correspondence. So welcome to the world of communication. Here we try to understand communication. It is a process of awakening. Why do I say it is a process of awakening? Simply because it is all there. We are not aware of it. If you go to the mythologies, remember Hanumana? He had to be told that he can fly across the ocean. Nalkuber? There are so many examples in mythology wherein we need to awaken the inner resources, and this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to let you in to the realms of communication. The objective is to know what is communication, why do we need to communicate, why is it important to communicate thoughts clearly, barriers to communication, and overcoming barriers. Now, this is the communication process. You involve at least two people. There is a sender. He sends the message. There is this receiver. And he will give the feedback. Unless and until a feedback has been given, no communication has taken place. The feedback could be in the form of non-verbal communication as well. So if you go ask for a leave from your boss, and he just raises his eyebrows and says nothing, still a communication has happened. Communication, if you sit down to define it, is the process of exchanging information, usually via a common system of symbols. I speak Latin, you speak Spanish. It'll be difficult. We need to come down to a common sense of language. It is an exchange of information between two people. It is a two-way process. You take some, you leave some, you give some. Think of it as an idea transplant and include both transference and understanding in communication. We may divide it into verbal communication, non-verbal communication, and written communication. This is the general module, and we take into account the barriers as well. Sender encoding. The message is in the channel. It is now being decoded. The receiver receives it, and he then sends it back through the same channel. Why business communication? Why can't it be plain and simple communication? I'm going to give you a simple example regarding it. Ponder on this. Just read it. You know the initial message is, owner to the factory manager, on no account must workers be punished. The factory manager, he brings it down to do not punish any worker unless you are absolutely convinced that workers are involved in unison. And see what it comes down to when it comes to the departmental head to supervisor. Punish the worker. Perhaps that is why there is a need to understand what business communication is. What is being said must be clearly understood and followed. And that is why perhaps many a times I tell the participants that you need to have things documented, you need to have orders in writing. Business communication, thus, is all about managing perceptions and ensuring effective and timely dissemination of information, positive image, smooth and affirmative relationship with all stakeholders. That is why we need to understand communication. Okay, let's move on to why we misconstrue. Why do we misconstrue? Could there be a lack of clarity in the message? It could be for various reasons. It could be that I'm translating from one language to another. It could be that the language which I am using is not my mother tongue, and so I do not have adequate vocabulary to express my thoughts properly. Many times there are mental blocks, as I said. At home also, we are instructed not to get into an argument with our seniors. But there can always be a discussion. Who's getting into an argument? Uncertainty and hesitation when speaking with non-Indians, again, is another barrier. Lack of confidence and lack of fluency is something which is very common. Remember, this lack of confidence is not because you do not know about the subject. It is because you cannot present the subject properly. So when it is about not being able to present the subject properly, you must work on in that area. For effective communication, it is extremely important that whatever you say is clearly understood. There has to be clarity of expression. At times, the rate of speech is very high. Volume and speed also impact understanding. Listening ability is an extremely important aspect in effective communication. Why? Because we are not prepared to listen even before somebody has said something. We are eager to give our explanation. No. In the world of business communication, it is important that we listen to others' perspective as well. What are the barriers to listening? We shall cover it in another segment. But for now, remember, we need to inculcate that habit of listening as well. Tone, what it represents, its appropriateness. What is tone? Well, the very word yes is affirmative, isn't it? But if you come to ask me of something and I say, yes, yes. So, you saw the two tones. Yes. Well, I'm not interested. Yes. Do you really think you can do it that way? How you say something to somebody becomes important. Voice modulation. Body language, people say that more than 50% of what you say is actually understood through the language, through the body language that you utilize in communication. So always be aware of the kind of body language you use. It must be positive. And when we talk about body language, it is again a vast segment which involves kinesics, proxemics, haptics, vocalics, all high-sounding words. We shall come back to that in a different segment. But for now, communicate to be understood clearly. That should be the hallmark when you communicate with people. Remember, friends, it's all right to hold a conversation as long as you can let go of it once in a while. With this, we come to the end of this session. What we tried to do today was, we learned the forms of communication, the elements of communication, and what the communication cycle is. I'm sure there has been some learning. Thank you.